we like to do retreats where we can get together and spend more time together, and over a period of days kind of go deeper into stuff. But it's hard to ask people to travel long distances, and we have to rent places, and it gets expensive. So we thought to try to do like an in-city retreat, where you can go home to your messy house and eat your own goddamn food, and then come back and sing. And the afternoon workshops will be smaller and more intimate, and we get a chance to talk about stuff. It's great when you sit with a group of people and you realize that everybody is just as screwed up as you are. It's very liberating. Just for me, anyway. Of God, the divine names. And the real meaning of these names is not something we can know intellectually or even emotionally. The real meaning of these names is actually our own true nature, our true being, which is beyond the senses and the mind. They also say through the repetition of these names, gradually but inevitably, the presence that's hidden within us, our own true being, is uncovered through this practice. This is a big issue, a big thing, because it means, we're not trying to get something that we don't already have. We're not trying to make something happen. We're not trying to manipulate our emotions to get ourselves off. That's called regular life. This is something else. What it is, we don't know, but that's okay. We're going to do it anyway because it feels good. If it didn't feel good, why would you be here? I wouldn't be here. You've been thinking about, I left something. Did I leave the tea boiling on the stove? Or, what time is this over? Frost is coming on. A rerun of Frost is going to be on. I watched all 13 seasons in about a week. Anyhow, you're sitting there and you think you're singing, but you realize you haven't been paying attention. You haven't even heard yourself singing. So, the moment you notice you're not paying attention, you just come back and you start singing. You start listening again. Don't worry. In 2 seconds, you'll be gone again. Then you'll notice that you're gone and you come back. This is a miracle that you come back at all. Really, if you think about it. And it's in that coming back to being here paying attention to the chant, that we move more deeply into our own hearts. And it's a process, back and forth, back and forth, back. And it goes on. I started this over 40 years ago. And believe me, it's still going on. Temple with my guru. He built a new temple inside the courtyard to the goddess Durga. And they brought a priest in, a Brahmin priest, to be the pujari, do the worship there at the temple. But after about a week or so, they caught him stealing the money out of the donation box. They gave him a few rupees, sent him home, and they brought in a second priest. But they caught him stealing the money. They gave him a few rupees and sent him home, and they brought in a third priest. And after a couple of days, they caught him stealing the money. And you have to get a special tool made that goes down into the box and catches these rupee notes and can pull them up. It takes a lot of practice. Must be part of the priestly training. Anyhow, so they sent the third guy home, and the temple trusts the people that run the temple, because my guru didn't own anything, the government owned temples. They came to Maharaj and they said, Baba, we can't find a priest that won't steal. What are we going to do? He goes, my priest won't steal. Your priest? Who's your priest? Krishna Das. So I was summoned from the back of the temple where the Westerners spent most of their time banished to inner darkness. And I was asked to be pujari at this temple. So it was fun. I used to sit there all day and pretend I knew what I was doing. And actually, so while I was sitting there, I decided, well, you know, I should learn some mantras, right? That's what priests do when they're not stealing. So I learned a few mantras, and I'm going to sing a few now, and then we're going to sing Jaya Jagatambe. But the reason I told you this story is I do want you to understand I am qualified for this. While I was up there, a friend of mine came by and he told me about a temple, an ancient temple that he'd heard about. It was much further up into the Himalayas. And this temple was so old that the culture that had built it disappeared. In other words, just like the temples in Khajuraho, nobody knows anything about the culture of the people who lived there, except what was left as the temples. So this was a similar situation, but this was way up in the mountains, supposedly in this hidden valley. So the other thing he told me was that no Westerner had ever found this place. Gotta go. Gotta go. So anyway, we made a plan, and a couple of weeks later, got a car and a driver, and we headed up into the mountains. If you've ever been in the mountains in India, the roads, you know, you drive all day, and you go about 2 feet as the crow flies. We made our way up into the hills. The first night we spent in a little dharamsala on the side of the road. Late the second night, we found the entrance to this valley, this hidden valley. And we made our way down the valley, and I don't know if you hear that, but it's called feedback. Anyway, we made our way down to the valley, and we found this little village. You know, no electricity, no phones, nothing. Thatched huts. And they had some kerosene they cooked with, but other than that, there were no modern conveniences at all. The people were so nice to us. They took us in, they gave us a place to sleep, they fed us. And in the morning, one of the guys showed up to lead us through the jungle to this temple. Now, the other thing about this temple was that the prayers in the temple were in this ancient language, older than Sanskrit. And the meaning of the words had been lost over the centuries, even though the prayers themselves had been handed down year after year, generation after generation. Anyhow, so we got down, we went through the jungle, and we came to this clearing, and there was this incredible temple, right? Unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. And just as we approached it, the front doors opened. They were going to begin their morning prayers. So what I saw in the temple was a beautiful, tall murti of a male deity, a male being. And he had one hand out like this, which is the mudra of fearlessness and blessings. Don't worry about anything. I got it covered. And the other hand was holding. That's right. That's what I said. I said to a guide, I said, "Excuse me, is that a telephone?" "Oh yes, that is telephone, thank you." "But what do you mean? Isn't this temple thousands of years old?" "Oh yes, temple thousands of years old." No explanation whatsoever. Later I did come to understand, you see, the idea is that this being is so kind, so compassionate, that he's always waiting just for us to call him up and tell him what we need. He's just waiting. And that's how compassionate he is. So I said, this is bullshit, I'm out of here. But just as we turned to go, they began those prayers, right? Their morning prayers. And I was transfixed, I couldn't move. It was so unbelievable. I had never heard anything like it anywhere. So we spent a couple of weeks there in the village, and we learned some of those prayers, and I want to sing one with you tonight.